goosebumps every time, yeah, 713. Through the 281, yeah, I'm riding. Why they on me? Why they on me? I'm flying, sipping low-key. I'm sipping low-key and honest, rider. I get those goosebumps every time.
Newcastle United.
I get those goosebumps every time. I need the hype, throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. When you're not around, when you throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps every time.
Up the mugs. Yes, sir.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Loaded Mag NUFC. We are back for our Sunday special to talk all things Newcastle United and all things transfers. And yes, you're going to get some strong opinions tonight. We can already tell by our chat off air around all things Newcastle United and players coming in and players coming out. But first of all, let's find out how the boys are. Daz, Chris, how are you on this fine Sunday evening?
Not too bad, not too bad. Tomorrow is last day of my holidays, lads. Bank holiday tomorrow in Ireland. Is it bank holiday in the UK? Pete, you told me that it wasn't, but no. Pete doesn't know. Pete's on a constant holiday when it comes to summertime.
25th of August is our next one, Daz.
Yeah. See, you get it later, so than us. Yeah. So and there's a storm on the way in the morning, early hours or the morning as well. But apart from that, all good. There's a storm coming St. James's Park this week as well. There's a few things to discuss, let's say. But Chris, how are you? You get your coffee?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, I'm good. No, I haven't got one. I had one earlier, and I probably shouldn't be drinking coffee at 7:30 at night. But no, I refrained from coffee, so I've just got a Fanta Zero. That's what I'm having at the moment. But no, I'm all good, mate. I'm all good. I'm not going to even tell you about my opinions till we start the show. But yeah, on a personal level, mate, I'm all good. I've been decorating. I've been out with our sons over the weekend. Yeah, it's been busy, but I've really enjoyed it. It's been a nice weekend, albeit it's been nice apart from the rumour mill and the football. And apart from that, but other than that, mate, I'm very good. Thank you, Pete. How are you doing, mate? And how was your evening last night?
Yeah, evening, the whole day, pretty much.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. I feel a little bit
ropey.
Yeah, no, not ropey. I feel exhausted. For anyone who doesn't know, I went to watch Oasis in Wembley Stadium yesterday in London. It was a superb day. If anyone's not been or had the chance to go and see Oasis, I imagine they'll do something next year as another tour. Definitely go and do it. They are absolutely sensational. Brilliant day. Definitely, I said to Daz before we went live, best concert I've ever been to in my life, and I've been to many over the years. Superb, but a long day. Started at 9:30, ended at about 1:30 in the morning. So long day. With the lads and the missus, a big group of us went, and yeah, great day. So sad to hear. I will mention it's sad to hear that someone passed away at the end of the show. They I think they fell from one of the tiers. I've just been reading in the last hour or so. So obviously sending condolences to their family, whoever that person was. But yeah, it was other than that sad news, it was a great day. But yes, and I have to be honest, boys, even though kind of trading bits of news whenever it came about, when it popped up on my phone, it was actually quite nice for the majority of that day to kind of just be away from Newcastle United news and just actually enjoy something that was not related to football at all. So that was kind of an enjoyment there from that perspective. But look, we're here to talk Newcastle United. And as we've mentioned, it is very much a big week for Newcastle United, as we always say, but it is because this is decision time for a number of different people. And look, I'll just get your thoughts on this very quick on this, because at least someone's made the decision. Someone made the decision to sign for Newcastle United. and it has been confirmed. Aaron Ramsdale is a Newcastle United player on loan for the season. He will be wearing the number 32. And yes, if anyone's not listened to the interview, the official interview on the website of Aaron Ramsdale, I would go and advise you to watch that, because he speaks absolutely brilliantly well about his ambitions for Newcastle United, being at the club and how happy he is, but also his respect for Nick Pope as well. And it doesn't normally happen, players talking openly about the respect for the person they're going to be competing with. But I thought it was a really nice touch. So definitely go and listen to that. But boys, any sort of final words now he's in the door about Aaron Ramsdale from you, Daz?
Well, I'm going to take your advice and listen to that interview, because I've missed that bit. I saw the introduction video, another one of those introduction videos that slightly bit weirder way of introducing, but it's nice as well at the same time. Yeah, but no, just no. Happy he's in now. The goalkeeper situation is sorted. We talked about it already. That it makes sense for a loan. I don't think it's a massive loan fee or anything like that. I think I wouldn't call it heavy as it was described. And it makes sense that they have that relationship with Eddie Howe and knows what he's getting himself into, and vice versa. So crack on with it. He put Nick Pope under pressure, and let's see how it goes, and maybe he'll get the full move after that, or we can say no.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, your opinions on Aaron Ramsdale? I don't know if you got to see the interview or listen to it. You did. What did you make of it? Because I was, as I said, I was really impressed.
Yeah, no, me too. Do you know what I love, Pete? I think it was the shortened version, the one where I think he was in the dressing room and he's talking to the camera, and it's the way he says that he's genuinely excited to be here, but you can absolutely tell he means it. I was really infused by it. Like, I thought it was a good interview, and I'm excited to see what he does, because he is, and he described himself as that, as somebody who wears his heart on his sleeve, and he very much is. He's got that little bit of Jordan Pickford in him, where people will hate him, but people will absolutely love him. And I think if he plays for your club, I think you absolutely love him. All that he's got to do is just make sure that he makes a strong start, and I think the fans will get behind him. And well, maybe we'll talk about the friendly shortly and the goal conceded. But yeah, I'm pleased that Aaron Ramsdale's through the door, and I think, as you say, Daz, it's not a heavy $4 million fee; it's a small outlay, and if you want to make it permanent, we absolutely can. I will be honest, boys, I'm still not entirely convinced by the announcement videos. I'm still not fully there with them, but the lady on it seemed really, really lovely anyway. And the main thing is Aaron Ramsdale's walked through the door. And that's ultimately the main thing, isn't it? But yeah, really pleased it's another one over the line, mate. And 2 down, 4 or 5 to go.
The next 4 weeks.
There's still time. There's still time, Dad. I still have confidence we'll have 6 through the door. But yes, it is getting very short. Just a quick one, Chris. I do agree with you in terms of the announcement videos. I would just like it to be more focused solely on the player. That's what I would like it to be, because the emphasis is the player signing for the club. I would like it to stay that way. That's my only kind of gripe with it. I like the section and what it means, because it's very much a local element to the video, and someone local giving them the spiel about what it means to play for Newcastle United and why it's important. I get that, but I would like to keep it more about the player than anything else. But yeah,
you're not on the next one, Pete. So you're not on the Šeško one or anything that we should know about.
No.
No. Okay, go on. Carry on.
I actually don't know what you mean, but I'm sure you'll tell me after.
I'll explain after.
Yeah, okay. But look, he's through the door, and looking forward to seeing him in a Newcastle shirt very, very soon. Right, let's just rip the Band-Aid off, boys. Let's talk. It feels like we've been talking about this man for a while now, and yeah, we've got to talk about it a little bit more, and it's Alexander Isak. So what we know from yesterday into today, that's all I've kind of given the sort of the story of motion at the moment. Craig Hope spoke to Eddie Howe in his press conference, and it was made clear that Eddie Howe was made aware yesterday about the bid being turned down, and that people in England are dealing with it. He does say that his wish is that we see him in a Newcastle shirt again. Craig Hope does say that he sees no reason why Alexander Isak won't return to training with his teammates next week. Ben Jacobs says the same. As well as that, Keith Downey then reports that Alexander Isak is or was heading back to Newcastle with the potential of training next week. It does mention later on in the day, and Craig Hope says it, that Liverpool haven't walked away from this deal. It was talked about on Friday that they had walked away. We did a show on it, and it broke as we were live that they weren't going to bid again. Craig Hope feels that they definitely will come back. Fabrizio Romano then came out of his slumber to message and tweet again. He seemed to disappear and then come back very, very strategically with reporting on Newcastle United. He reports as well that they never left the talks and that a new bid can be submitted if Newcastle open the doors. Something that we've been told about consistently, boys, for quite a while now. Another caveat to that happened just this afternoon, just before we went live. David Ornstein reports that Al Hilal have identified Darwin Núñez as a priority target, and it seems like Al Hilal are looking to do a deal now to get Darwin Núñez in. There was a breakdown in communications a few weeks ago. Didn't think it was going to happen. Now it looks like it does and will happen. I want to get your thoughts on that very quickly, but then the last part in tandem with that is what's just come out very recently, just before we went live, with regards to Craig Hope. And Eddie Howe sent a warning to Alexander Isak. No player can expect to act poorly and train with the group as normal. You have to earn the right to train with us. We are Newcastle United. Boys, with all that's been going on the last couple of days, we've not had a chance to talk about it. Where is your mind set on Alexander Isak? It looks like he's going to be back in some form of training, or at least back at the training base Monday, Tuesday. How do you see that situation panning out, and what are your thoughts on it, Daz?
Yeah, I suppose picking up from where we left off on Friday, Pete. Yeah, because at that stage it looked like, okay, Liverpool were backing off, or that's what we're led to believe at that stage. But since it's moved on, and we'll talk about it in detail later. Our bid for Šeško has gone in. And the comments that you said at the start about what Eddie said about he becoming aware of Isak's whereabouts from the media. And yeah, that one there, I know you put in our own chat as well, Chris, before. I think I just read it before you put in our chat. But about what Hope he's saying there. So it's kind of, it's not going to be a pleasant meeting, I'd say, when they do all get together, whether it's tomorrow or on Tuesday, because the lads were playing the match there at lunchtime, our time today. So yeah, if you're reading all the articles, all the tweets, it does look like it's heading one way. But for me, I still hold the hope that something can be resolved with Isak, and that we're able to retain Isak, but also have Šeško. I want my cake and I want to eat it. I want both of them. That's the way. That's the and this, we could come out of this whole saga on a real positive front in an attacking sense. It's probably unlikely, and you could even be burnt on both fronts yet. But I don't think we're not going to let Isak go lightly. First of all, that the derogatory bid that came in, as we talked about on Friday, and not having a replacement there with the jersey, so it can't happen anytime soon, let's say. So I don't know. I'm still holding hope, but I know I might be in the minority on that one when it comes to the dream of having both of them in a Newcastle kit.
Chris, do you have that same opinion with regards to Alexander Isak? You know, coming back into training next week will be interesting, considering what he's done. It'll be the first time he'll have interacted with the players, with Eddie Howe. Let's be honest, all the boys would have been keeping a note on what's been going on with regards to Isak. Where do you sit on this whole situation with Alexander Isak? Will he be sold? Will he stay? Is there a way, is what Daz said, a way of kind of turning him back round to potentially staying at Newcastle United? Where does it all stand for you? I know we've been talking about this a lot, but where were you at, mate?
I agree with what Colton Connors just put on the screen there, just saying he's tired of hearing about Isak. It's exactly how I feel. I feel now, boys, like I've gone on my emotional roller coaster. I was up, I was down, I was up again, then I was down again. And you know what? I've had a lot of time to reflect over the weekend. There was a lot of exuberant voice notes being sent to my mates when I caught up with the show, which you boys did. I think it was on Friday, wasn't it? It was announced that Liverpool have walked away from the deal. So I give me mates loads and all that, and they went into their caves for a few hours or a day, I think it was, and then all of a sudden the rumour mill started again. Liverpool are going to come back in for him, blah blah blah. And I'll tell you where I am. So, me personally, my gut feeling and the way I feel about this whole situation now is, and not taking anything else into consideration at this moment, I just want him gone. I want him gone. And the reason I say that isn't because I'm cutting my nose off to spite my face, or it's not that I don't think he's a really good striker, because he is. It's just the fact that I don't think this will go away until he leaves. I never wanted him to go to Liverpool, as you lads both know. I didn't really want him to go to anyone in the Premier League. However, what I also don't want is somebody becoming bigger than the club. And there will never be a player who's bigger than the club. And this, for me, particularly the last couple of weeks, has just overshadowed everything that we're trying to do. You watch the friendly today, Alexander Isak gets mentioned. You're listening to the radio, Alexander Isak gets mentioned. You're watching a random programme on Sky Sports News, Alexander Isak gets mentioned. And it's just like, do you know what? It's boring. It's really, really boring. And for me, I want to keep him, as in, I want to keep the player, but do I want to keep the person? Not really. Next week's going to be interesting. And I think Eddie's announcement that he's come out with this evening, I think, is really interestingly timed, because it almost alludes to the fact that, Alexander Isak's not going to walk through the training doors on Tuesday morning and everyone's going to be giving him high fives and big hugs, which is how it should be. At the end of the day, he chose not to go on that pre-season tour. So if he walks back through the doors, he shouldn't be welcomed like it's a homecoming or something like that. But that's if he does walk back through the doors. No one really knows what's going to happen. I mean, his timing of coming back from Sociedad, it certainly looks like he's going to come back to training on Tuesday. But will he do a Johan Wissa and just turn up and say, "I'm here and now I'm leaving"? Who knows? But one thing is for sure, this is I don't feel like this is going to get resolved. The way I'm feeling right now, I don't feel like it's going to have a happy ending where he ends up staying at Newcastle and wants to stay at Newcastle. So, but I will caveat all of that, because any Liverpool fans, in the chat, or who end up watching this back and think, oh, they're just going to sell him. We're not, because in order for him to leave, Liverpool have to reach Newcastle's valuation. So there's one caveat. The second caveat is Newcastle need to sign a replacement. Now, if Newcastle don't sign a replacement, Alexander Isak won't go anywhere. But my want is for Newcastle to go and get Benjamin Šeško, go and get Goncalo Ramos, go and get Johan Wissa, go and get Ivan Toney. I keep seeing all different names. Whoever it is, I just want Newcastle to go and get two strikers and for Alexander Isak to leave. That's what I want. Like I say, I never thought I'd say I want him to leave for Liverpool, but I just want him out the door. I just want him out the door so that we don't have to talk about it anymore, because I feel like, I don't know whether it's media driven, whether it's, I don't know, but I just feel like the life has been drained out of me. Normally this period, you enjoy the transfer rumours, the links, the possibilities, you look forward to the season starting. Like I'm drained of it all. I am literally drained of it, and every time I see an article, I'm just like, oh god. And like you flashed up before, Pete. You know, like the Fabrizio Romano one. What was it?
I put it
Liverpool is still there. Yeah. If Newcastle open the doors, well, Fabrizio, Newcastle are not going to open the doors, mate, until we sign a striker. Stop plugging the same shit because
Chris,
there's no point. It's just
Chris,
draining. Sorry, guys.
A question to you there, right? Okay, because the way the statement was worded from Friday that they won't come back anywhere near us again unless we come to them and go, yes, please, will you buy our striker, Alexander Isak? Here's the fee we want to pay, whatever way that it would be put. So surely that's not going to happen. Or what you're thinking there? How would that play out? Let's say we do get Šeško or someone else. Can you see us coming back to Liverpool, or do you think that's just going to bullshit the way it was worded?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question, Daz. But no, I think Liverpool are monitoring this situation. But what I find interesting is, and what I will be interested to know is, I think once Newcastle sign the big main Isak replacement, I think that's when the dialogue will start. Because what Newcastle don't want to do is go and sign a big. Say we got Šeško, and then we went and got Wissa, and then we were like waiting for Liverpool to come and bid, and then Liverpool go 115 million, and we're going, we're not selling them for 115 million, and then we've got 3 strikers. Like I think we get the big one through the door. Well, yeah, great for us, yeah, but I think we get the big one through the door, and then we almost pause a little bit. And I don't think we get the second one through the door until we know what's happening with Alexander Isak. But as we've seen with Liverpool this transfer window, they're incredibly unreliable, and it feels like they're playing games. Now, that's absolutely fine. And if they want to do that, you're seeing various reports. And this is the difficulty for me. And I'm interested to hear what Pete thinks on this as well. But the interesting thing for me is it does feel like, I'm not going to say 4D chess. Why it's got to be 4D, I don't know. But it feels like a big game of chess. And it feels like people are making moves and people are already anticipating what moves are going to happen before they happen. And I just think this week is going to be really interesting because obviously, depending on what Alexander Isak does, depending on what Liverpool do, depending on whether Šeško chooses Newcastle, there's lots of things, but there's lots of different moving parts. And, you know, I can't imagine that Newcastle United anymore are that desperate to have Alexander Isak, because what you don't want is an unhappy player, and all the Liverpool fans keep saying that, which is absolutely right. But it's not a bargain basement sale. There's no bargains to be had here, Liverpool fans, okay? And I think their ownership know that, and that's why they're testing the water a little bit. But Alexander Isak is going for the premium price, and if that price isn't met this window, he'll sign a new contract, a clause will be put in, and the premium price will have to be met next summer. And no doubt another club will make that premium offer. They will. Because if he goes and bangs 20, 25, 30 goals this season, other clubs are going to be interested in him as well. So there's still, you know, we've heard power plays, we've heard strong moves, we've heard in control, we've heard chess. There's still a lot of power to be held by Newcastle United, and people don't give the credit for that. And there's still power to be held by the player, and to a degree, there's still power to be held by Liverpool. But if I had to pick a side to be on at the moment, I'd want to be on Newcastle United, because I think Newcastle holds more cards than what anybody realises. But that's what I feel about it. And as I say, like, I'm disappointed. I'm not happy about the situation. You know, I just kind of want it to come to an end, because at the end of the day, boys, and I'm sure you'll both agree with me on this, Alexander Isak's a brilliant striker. But there's loads of brilliant strikers out there. Are we going to replace them and they're going to be as ready as Alexander Isak right now? No. But I'd rather have someone who really wants to be here and really wants to wear the shirt, and who isn't going to be hankering for the move elsewhere. Because to me, you know, it's a team game, isn't it? It's about our club. It's not about one player. And at the moment, it just feels like it's about one player. And that just sucks all the life out of it and the enjoyment for me, because it's just like, you know what, mate, if you want to go, just go. But you're going to go at our price and when we say. You're not going to go when you want to go. Even though they think they will, it doesn't work like that. But that's my thoughts anyway. Sorry, Pete, I've given about a 20-minute answer there, but that's how I'm feeling about it anyway.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, look, this power play, 4D chess, 8D chess, whatever it is, it's all bullshit. Like for me, it's all a load of rubbish, because Liverpool hadn't planned to be in this situation. Everyone's saying that Liverpool have played this perfectly, blah blah blah, this that and the other. No, they didn't.
No.
They never expected to sign Alexander Isak this summer. This is the thing that I've come to realize now in the whole of this saga, that they never expected it. When they were told no, the first time by Newcastle United, they went and got Ekitike because they didn't think they were getting Isak. What you're seeing now, since Isak's played his hand and basically spat his dummy out, is Liverpool scrambling. And Liverpool are continuing to scramble right now. This is why you're seeing the situation with Darwin Núñez, is that they're scrambling to get these players out. Darwin Núñez will probably get sold on a lower price just to get him out the door, just because they need the money. They're trying to generate this money because all this talk on Sky and everywhere else, where they were talking about, Liverpool have got this headroom and that headroom, they clearly haven't. Because if they had, they'd have put the money down, 150. They knew the price way back when, they'd have done it and got Isak out the door. The reality is they can't afford him, and I've kept maintaining that. And I've had Liverpool fans saying they can, we've got money. No, they can't afford him. They can't afford him at the price that Newcastle have. So they're now scrambling and have been for weeks, which is why this complete saga is dragged on and on and on, and there's not been a bid. They're waiting for Newcastle because they want the fee lowered. That's why they verbally gave 120 million initially. And then when they brought Ekitike, they didn't have 120 million, so they went in at 110 because they can't afford him. They are now scrambling to get that deal done, right? And that's the reality. Now, for me, I'm not sure Isak turns up for training tomorrow or Tuesday. I'm not necessarily convinced that he actually turns up. And the reason being is because I don't believe that Isak wants to be at Newcastle United. I think Isak's played his hand in his mind, thinking that he never has to step foot back at that club again. And I'm not sure he's going to be comfortable enough to be able to do that, in my opinion. Now, for me, on top of that, I'm not quite sure that Isak wants to face his players. But more importantly, I'm not quite sure that Isak wants to face Eddie Howe, because I'm pretty convinced that he knows how disrespected or disrespectful he's been to the player and the manager, to all of the squad and the manager. Now, the players won't say that in interviews. The players won't say that when they're being told in Singapore or South Korea to talk about Alexander Isak, because they need to remain professional. But there'll be an element of them that will be disrespected by that. Eddie Howe in particular. Eddie Howe, who's coached and managed him for 3 years, to be treated like that on the eve of our pre-season tour in the midst of one of our biggest summers potentially in a long time. That is an absolute disrespect. I genuinely think now Eddie Howe does want him gone. I genuinely think now Eddie Howe just wants this whole situation gone with and done with. But Liverpool do have to pay the money. And I think there's a matter of pride. There's a matter of saving face. There's a matter of, not being bullied by another club, where Newcastle will now insist on getting the fee that they need. But that shouldn't stop us in getting our full-on replacement for Alexander Isak in this situation. And I think what we need to do now is massively press ahead and pay whatever it takes. And people might not agree with me on this. I think what we need to do now, in order to save our own summer, is go and get the striker that we actually want. We've missed out on so many players this summer, even if it means paying an extra 5, maybe 10 million on it. People might not agree. I think we need to do that now for our own benefit, to get our player in, to let Alexander Isak know that he doesn't hold all the cards here. We go and get someone like Šeško, and we may talk about him in a minute, and we go and put that on the table, and we go and add him to the squad, and he becomes our number 9, and he becomes our guy that we can bank on and move forward with. The emphasis no longer is about Alexander Isak. Newcastle fans can fully move on from that situation. If that situation happens, great. If it doesn't, whatever. But we need to move on with our own player now, because that should be the priority. Lads, we are too weeks away from the Premier League season starting, and we're still talking about, as a priority conversation, a player that's trying to leave Newcastle United. That should never be the case. And for this week is what should be the priority, is players coming in, whether it's Šeško, whether it's Wissa, whether it's somebody else. It doesn't matter. The priority should be not Alexander Isak. It should be the players that are coming into this club, because we need to be ready to go first game of the season away at Villa. That should be the priority. But for me, Alexander Isak, if it was up to me, I wouldn't have him nowhere near our squad. I would have him nowhere near the squad. For me, I'd have him training on his own, doing his own thing with the staff. Before that, I'd have him come in. He needs to apologise to the manager. He needs to apologise to the squad. He needs to apologise to the staff and everyone else that he's let down, because he's massively dismantled this summer and our preparations for the new season. Him and him alone, by his immature, unprofessional actions. He needs to apologise, regardless of whether he stays or not. If he's to step foot back in that training ground, he needs to do all of those things before he gets his boots on, in my opinion. He needs to do all of those things. And if I'm Eddie Howe, I'm demanding that he does that. But that's my point. I don't think Alexander Isak wants to do it, and this is why I don't think
it's a big question
on Monday.
Do you know what, Pete? I just wanted to add, and it's from Ado Pool there, and one of my good mates, who's a Liverpool fan, he said this to me the other day. He said to me, "Do you know what? I don't even want him that much now." And this is the problem. It's getting to the point where Newcastle fans are like, "Take him," and Liverpool fans are like, well, some Liverpool fans are like, "You know what? We don't even want him that much." And this is the problem that Alexander Isak's going to have, because if Liverpool do withdraw, we've still not seen this top bid. Everybody knows it's like the worst kept secret that Newcastle are looking for around 150 million, and Liverpool got him with 110. And Newcastle, you know, I think now a lot of people acknowledge the fact that Newcastle probably do want Alexander Isak out. The problem that Alexander Isak could end up having is the fact that he's burnt his bridges a little bit with Newcastle United, and Liverpool aren't all that desperate for him. And then he's going to have to come back with his tail between his legs and make some apologies, because he's still got that 3-year contract, which we all keep talking about.
Chris,
what I wanted to ask you, Pete, just off the back of what you said, do you think that, do you know the only thing that makes me think he probably will turn up for training on Tuesday? And the reason I say this is because why do you think, what other reason could there be that he's flew back to Newcastle? Because to me, if he wasn't going to come to training, he just wouldn't have flew back. He just stayed where he is. Do you know what I mean? Why has he gone back to the city?
He has to, Chris. He has to come back. This is what I think I said this to Daz on Friday, is that it was an easy, and to be fair, I said it to some of my mates yesterday when we were on the train. It was the easy thing for him to disappear whilst we were on our tour. It was very easy for him to do that because there's no one around. The manager, the players, no one's around. So it's easy for him to just disappear and go AWOL. He can't get away with doing that when the players are back training in Newcastle, preparing for the new season. He can't get away with it. And you know what? If he does come back, it will be almost to try and protect his image. Because there's a reason why the Liverpool fans don't want him now. His golden superstar image has been massively tainted by his immature, petulant behaviour. Players have an image here, and his is absolutely rock bottom right now because of how he's behaved. These top clubs want players that act professionally and do things right. He's done things absolutely wrong. He is absolutely in the wrong here. And I've spoken to fans that don't think that he's at fault. He is absolutely at fault for this because he's created the domino effect. So there's an element that he might well come back because he wants to save face. But I think he doesn't want to face the music with Eddie Howe and the players. I genuinely don't think that he wants to face that music. So he has to face that music. But to answer your other question, Chris, this is why I emphasized we need to prioritize us now. Let's forget this narrative of Alexander Isak. Focus on our players. Focus on getting the players, the signings in that we need. And you know what? The best situation for Newcastle United right now, because we are in the driving seat with Alexander Isak, and we know it, because we hold the value. If Liverpool don't pay it, then he stays. But what we need to do right now is hold the cards with Alexander Isak too. And what we need to do is go and get someone like Šeško. Get him into the club. If he accepts Newcastle United, we'll talk about it in a second, and he signs for Newcastle United, we pay the money, whatever it is, to get him in the club, and we put the number 9 on him. And once we put that number 9 on someone like Benjamin Šeško, as an example, Newcastle fans will absolutely love him. And Newcastle fans won't have Isak in their mind. They'll have the new signing in their mind. And what we do there, we move forward with our new guy, and we leave Alexander Isak in the corner. That's what needs to happen right now. He needs to just get left in the corner and left to mull on his own mistakes. Because at the moment, he's the main guy. He's the big dog. Everyone's talking about Alexander Isak. Let's sidestep that and let's put the focus on our players and the ones that we know are fully committed to Newcastle United, that are ready to play for Newcastle United, and let's focus on them. Because I tell you what, for me, this is what I'd be doing, because I want Alexander Isak to sweat. I want him to sweat. I want him to go into those. I want us to go into those first 2 games of the season, or 3, with our new striker at the helm, to be playing week in, week out, and Alexander Isak either sitting on the bench or not playing at all, wondering, am I going to get my move? Am I not? Because at that point, we've got our guy. Now it's up to Liverpool. You want him? Give us 150 million. That's what we need to do now. We need to get other players. But for me, if we are going to do this chess or 4-5D chess, whatever it is, we get the narrative back. We go and get our guy. We go with our guy. We leave Isak in the corner and we say, you want him, Liverpool? Go pay 150 million. Otherwise, he stays with us, and we make him sweat. That's what we need to do, in my opinion, right now. If I'm Eddie Howe and I'm the owner or I'm the chairman, that is my mentality, and that would be my focus right now.
I want to jump in here as well, right? I agree. Go get our guy. Hope we get Šeško. Is there a world, an alternative universe, good cop, bad cop here, devil's advocate, Chris, where Isak has been screwed over by Liverpool, that it didn't go out the way that they all planned, and he's now seen the light, going, this is fucking never going to work. I've got to make this right. And he does go in and apologize to everyone. Maybe highly unlikely that this happens, but he apologized to everyone. He bends the knee. He even goes down the route of a new contract. Can you guys accept him back into the family then, if that was to happen? And this is for the wider chat as well.
Yeah, for me, the only way I would change my mind on Alexander Isak at this moment is if he was to sign a new contract and come out with a statement and apologise for the way he's conducted himself. If he come out and said, listen, I shouldn't have I shouldn't have dodged the pre-season tour. I was disrespectful to my fellow team members. I've disrespected the fans. I'm very, very sorry. My head's in the right place. I want to get my head down, and I'm looking forward to the new season. That's what I would expect. I don't want to hear, Alexander Isak's going to stay. He doesn't really want to, but he's going to stay. I don't want to hear that, because that's not enough. He needs to come out and he needs to apologise. And if he does do that and sign a new contract, even though we all know the new contract will probably have a clause in it, but as long as he, comes out and says his apology, then I would accept that. Whether that will happen or not, I don't know. It's probably one of about 5 or 6 options that are currently on the table. So I wouldn't rule it out, Daz, because, if Newcastle and Liverpool end up talking, or Liverpool approach Alexander Isak and go, listen, mate, we're not going to go over 120, and Alexander Isak and his agent are going, you're going to have to pay more than 120, and Liverpool go, well, we're not going to, then Alexander Isak's not going anywhere. Because let's be honest, boys, and we've spoke about this at length, and everyone on the chat will know this. Alexander Isak's got to play football this season, whether it's at Anfield, whether it's at St James's Park. He's got to play football this season. So if that move isn't going to happen, Alexander Isak is going to have to get his head right, and he's going to have to commit to his current club that he's contracted to. Because the last thing Alexander Isak wants to do is completely burn his bridges, which is what we've spoken about previously. Because if he doesn't get his dream move to Liverpool that he's after, Alexander Isak is going to have to come back to Newcastle United in St James's Park, and he's going to have to basically, bow down and apologise. And for me, I think regardless of what happens, even in the next couple of weeks or 4 weeks till the window shuts, Alexander Isak should come into training on Tuesday. He should say his apologies, and then he should release a statement. That's what he should do. And even if he goes a couple of weeks later, so what? But at least he's steadying the ship for the eventuality that he doesn't leave Newcastle United. The longer that he keeps this going and the longer that he drags this out, he's just putting more and more and more pressure on. And what if Newcastle just turn around and go, you're not going anywhere? Because let's be honest, boys, all we're hearing from the media, this is all media driven. I mean, you've got people out there who you believe, people out there you don't want to believe. I've seen people in the chat saying who they trust, who they don't trust. We've still yet to hear anything from the horse's mouth. We haven't heard anything. And this is the thing. The only thing that we know as fact, I've said this hundreds of times, the only thing we know as fact is that he wanted to explore his options and he didn't go on the pre-season tour. That's all we know. He hasn't actually said, that he's desperately unhappy and he's desperate to move to Liverpool. Oh, sorry, he's desperately wanting to leave Newcastle. He hasn't actually said that. He's indicated it by his actions, but he's not actually said it. But if he comes back
tweets
and he says, yeah,
stories,
he's got, yeah, that's what I mean. We've not actually heard it.
And so on.
Yeah. Pete, what about you?
I'm going to ask Pete the same question, but I'm going to put another bit onto it, Pete. You do this to me, Pete, so I'm putting another bit onto your question. Let's say we're at the 1st of September, or even, the day before the 1st of September, 31st of August, and the highest Liverpool will go is 120. They won't budge anymore, and no one else seems to be coming into in for him. What do we do?
No sell.
No sell.
Newcastle United should not be selling for any less than 150. That's their value. Newcastle United need to stick to their value. It's as simple as that. Liverpool want him. They've made him uncomfortable. They've created the narrative where he then chooses to behave the way he does. Pay the money. It's as simple as that. Now, for me, I do not. My feelings on Alexander Isak won't ever be the same, regardless. Now, they just won't. He's burnt bridges with me that can't be rebuilt. Well, if he was to put on a Newcastle United shirt, would I support him? I support any player that steps onto the pitch, and I want them to do well when they're representing the club. But it would not be the same at all. But no, I'll be honest, Chris. I'm sorry. I'm not into these statements. I think it's a load of rubbish. Anyone can write a statement and put it out there. He needs to be. It needs to be a video interview.
Pete. I want to hear him say it. I want to hear him say it. He's got to fucking say it
to the fans. I need to hear him say. And the reason being is because he's had many an interview and many a video where he's put out about how much he loves Newcastle and how much he's enjoyed his football at the club. And then he's gone and done this. So I need to actually hear him say these words. And I need to know that he's actually said these words to Eddie Howe, to the players, before he says it to the fans. He has got a long way to come back. I'll be honest, I don't see it. I don't see him coming back. So I'm talking about a situation that in my mind isn't going to happen. But if it was to happen, then he has a lot of groveling to do. But for me, the key thing to it all is that we go and get our guy. Regardless of Alexander Isak, he has to work his way back into the team. If we get, and I keep saying Šeško because he's the most heavily linked out of everybody. If we went and got a Šeško, he becomes the number one. Isak has to earn his way back into the team if he was to stay at the club. And people will go, nah, Isak's better than Šeško. I don't care. I don't care. At least that player, whoever it may be, actually wants to be at Newcastle United and he's invested at the club. I want people that want to play for Newcastle United. I don't care how good they are. I don't care how good they are. If they don't want to be at Newcastle United, they need to leave. It's as simple as that. We've had it before. Johan Cabaye, the likes of Andy Cole, we've had other players been and gone in the years gone by that didn't want to be at the club. Fine, go, leave. We'll be disappointed, but we move on. We've moved on with those players in the past. We'll move on again. It's as simple as that. So for me, I only want players that play for this club. So regardless if he stays or if he goes, we go with our guy moving forward, whoever we sign and whoever that may be. And they are the first choice and not Isak if he is then forced to stay. Because let's be honest, it'll be forced to stay. The contract will be with a release clause in a year's time. So he doesn't really want to be at the club. The only thing is, he actually benefits from that and Newcastle don't, in my opinion. Because Newcastle still lose the player. And all he does is get paid more for not wanting to be at the club. Why should my club pay a player more money to stay at a club that he doesn't want to be at? Just move him on. That's the right price. We'll be paying him, of course, the right price. We all know that. That goes without saying. But the reality is, we'd be forcing a player to stay at Newcastle United, right? And paying him more money to do so. Get out of here, man. For me, I'm keeping him on his contract, 120 grand a week. You stay on that contract, right? We'd have given you one, but you didn't want it, and you refused. And even the players wanted you to stay, and you refused, as David Ornstein reported last week, and you didn't want it. So don't grovel and want the contract now because you're forced to stay because Liverpool didn't put the money up. You stay on 120 grand a week, and then we flog you next summer anyway. That's what should happen. Newcastle need to grab this narrative back. Right, we've been made to be look like an amateurish club. We've been made to be embarrassed with signings all throughout this summer, and then this Isak saga. Take some ownership back of this club, Newcastle United. Take the narrative back. Show some backbone. Right, make things difficult. Yes, we might pay an extra how much on the wages, but it doesn't matter. What that will do long term is show that we are not going to be messed around. That is the narrative. We need to show clubs, other clubs, and other players that we're not going to be messed around, that we're Newcastle United, right? And we hold our own. We're not showing that right now. And this is what I want us to do with Alexander Isak. I want us to make an example of him between now and the end of the window. That's what I need to see. Right, there were some super chats in the comments. Thank you for those and the super chats. Make sure as well you're hitting those likes, people. I think we're about around the 250 mark, but we've got nearly 900, I think over 900 people in the live chat right now. Come on, we should be getting up to 400 or 500 of likes. Hopefully you're enjoying what we're talking about. You're enjoying our own honest and sort of personal opinions on the situations with Isak. Let's not talk about Isak anymore. Because we've rambled on about that long enough and we've given our own opinions on it. But yes, super chats, people.
Yes. So we've had two super chats, and thank you very much. And they come from Sync. So thank you very much, Sync. Much appreciated, mate. And Sync says, hope all is well. I'd have to disagree. Liverpool can 100% finance Isak. My reasoning is due to their opening bid close to Premier League record, considering the expenditure on Ekitike just a week ago. Also, it's well documented they intend to sell Darwin this summer. I defo don't think they plan to move for Isak this summer, that we agree on. I think they've expedited next summer plan due to Jota. RIP.
So can I just answer that question?
Who wants to take that? Go on, Pete.
Okay, and thanks, Sync, for putting that in.
Yeah,
If Liverpool can finance the deal, then why haven't they? That's my question. Why have they dragged this on? Because Newcastle United have been staunch in their approach that they do not want to sell for anything less than 150 million. Why give a verbal response of 120 and then bid 110? All that does is make them look bad. It makes them look bad. It makes them look unprofessional because they've gone back on their word of what they were willing to pay before and have then gone in less, right? And you just mentioned, if they're trying to sell Darwin Núñez and they're trying to sell Luis Diaz, who has already been sold now, doesn't that tell you that they're trying to finance the deal? For me, that does. It tells me that they're trying to finance the deal to be able to move the guy on, to be able to generate the money, to be able to afford Alexander Isak. But to be fair, even if any of that wasn't true, let's put it to the test. If I'm Newcastle United, I'm saying, let's put that to the test. If you've really got the money, we'll just sit back because we're not coming to you as we keep being told we need to come to them. We're not coming to you. So if you really want him, put your bid in. We'll move on and go and do our business. We'll go and try and get Šeško and Wissa and whoever, and we'll get our centre backs and whatever we need to get between now and the end of the window. If I'm Newcastle United, I'm sitting back and go, okay, you don't want him, or you want us to come to you. We're not coming to you. Let's see how much you really want him, and let's see how Isak responds to that. Because I tell you what, he'll be sweating. He'll be sweating buckets, knowing that we're not budging and that Liverpool aren't putting the bid in. Everyone keeps telling us there's a big coming. I've just put in there Craig Hope, Ben Jacobs, Fabrizio Romano. Keep saying there's another big coming. They'll definitely bid again. Let's wait and see.
Two things, just because I think we might have talked about before. World Cup year, so Isak needs to get to be playing regularly, or he screws himself over. Also, Chris, something you mentioned before, the Gerrard to Chelsea saga from years gone by, and he never left. He went through something similar, and it was bridges were burnt there as well, but it can be overcome as well. But a lot has to happen for that. I know it's hypothetical. It's probably a long shot, but let's see what happens over the next 3 days. I think 2 to 3 days. I think we'll know an awful lot more on this one, boys. It is come to some kind of a conclusion of sorts in the next couple of days.
Yeah. I think we'll know a lot more this time next week. A lot more.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. Any other super chats in there, lads?
I don't think there is. I mean, I can do a couple of questions if you want, Pete, or did you want to move straight on to our next topic?
No, we can move straight on because we've got a lot to cover tonight. So let's move on to a player that could well be coming into Newcastle United. Let's talk potentially more positive, and we'll talk about Benjamin Šeško now. The train of news, or the trail of news, came from late Friday night, when there was a Slovenian reporter for, I think, is it Delo? It isn't Delo. It says it on the picture, which is a big Slovenian newspaper, I believe, that said that Newcastle had won the race for Benjamin Šeško. That had been backed up by Sasha Travalier, had mentioned it. Also, Keith Downey then came Saturday morning with the fact that Newcastle had bid for Benjamin Šeško, 75 million euros plus 5 million, which matches Leipzig's valuation of 65.5 million, which is what they wanted as a base figure. Craig Hope reported it the same as did Ben Jacobs and David Ornstein. They all said the same in terms of the figure. Philip Hines, and he's become an important cog in this because he's a German reporter on all things Bundesliga, who is keeping us up to date from that perspective too. Florian Plattenberg also mentions it as well. What we did get in the afternoon is that Benjamin Šeško had been left out of the squad, and that started to get people's tongues wagging about the situation. Florian Plattenberg also confirmed this, and actually speaking to the manager, it had been mentioned that it had been transfer related. Florian Plattenberg had mentioned that it was down to the fact that he'd even told teammates that he will be leaving the club. What we then found later on in the evening is that Ben Jacobs confirmed that the bid had been rejected in his opinion, and that the fixed fee met the quotation of what they wanted, or the valuation, but the overall package wasn't deemed to be successful. Other people chose to word it slightly differently though. And Keith Downey had reported that they were still in talks with it and it hadn't been rejected. So although Ben Jacobs said it had been rejected, Keith Downey was adamant that it hadn't been rejected and they were still discussing. And it was more about the structure of the deal and the payment terms of that. Craig Hope also reported very similar, saying that Newcastle are negotiating the structure, but no mention of rejection there. Fabrizio Romano comes out of his slumber again, of not reporting on anything Newcastle United, and comes back with this. It was interesting, actually. He didn't actually tweet out, or did he? I could have been wrong, that Newcastle had even put a bid in. I didn't see
No,
anything
you
on that.
didn't.
I thought that was very, very interesting. And I think lots of Newcastle fans have caught on to Fabrizio Romano now and the type of process that he goes through in putting his information out there. But what he did say is that Benjamin Sesko's agent arrives or has arrived in Leipzig ahead of key moments with regards to Šeško. You know what really interesting about this is the way they put Man United's name in first, even though we're the ones that put the bid in. That's the thing that really kind of irks me a little bit. So Newcastle put the bid in on Saturday, but yet Manchester United get talked about in the first instance. They've not even put a bid in. They've barely been in talks with Benjamin Šeško. I just found that interesting, by the way. Just a little observation there. Ben Jacobs does then say today that Newcastle are prepared to improve their bid for Benjamin Šeško. And there's optimism, a fee and a structure can be agreed. So a little bit of positivity there from Benjamin Šeško. Further talks with Benjamin Šeško. This is from Philip Hines as well. Šeško's agents are still in Leipzig. Negotiations are ongoing, as been reported again. Talk about Manchester United first. Ready to match Newcastle United's offer. We're still waiting for that, by the way. And then it's around decision time. That's the title and the main part of this show. Tonight, Benjamin Šeško is ready or needs to be ready to make his final decision. Florian Plettenberg mentions the same this afternoon. Decision soon with Benjamin Šeško. And as well, Craig Hope says, Newcastle spoke to the strikers camp on Sunday, meaning today, and it is thought they would like a response within 24 hours. Okay, so Newcastle United have now seemingly put a time frame on when they want to know what is happening with Benjamin Šeško. So it seems to be ramping up a little bit there. But boys, your thoughts on Benjamin Šeško based on all that information from Friday night all the way through until just before we went live on that situation. And the last part was that 24 hours has been given for a decision to be made. What do you think of that situation, Daz, and where do you see this going, in your opinion, mate?
Yeah, picking up from the show on Friday that we were on, Pete, where we kind of thought that Man United were in the driving seat. Then it kind of seemed to, from those tweets on Friday night, the bid first of all, and then was it last night? I can't remember now. That things are swaying in our direction potentially. No, it must be the night before actually. Yeah, look, we've been tracking, on this channel, we've been tracking Benjamin Šeško for the last 3 years. So he's only 22 now, so it's 19 or something. We've been keeping an eye on him, talking about him, mention him every transfer show. We would absolutely love him to arrive at Newcastle. He has got that big decision to make, or does he? There is no bid from Man United yet. There's also talk that they have to sell Højlund or try and throw him in as part of the deal, and he doesn't want to be part of the deal or whatever. He just want to go there. He wants to stay at Man United. So the decision is pretty simple. It's also, I think it's one of the tweets he had there as well, that he said goodbye to his teammates. So he's on the move, and it would seem like he was happy to go to Newcastle, even if there's no other option for him in regards to Man United. So I do think this one gets done. I really hope that Man United don't swoop in to try and put a bid in and then give him the decision. Because at the moment, to me, there is no decision. It's come to Newcastle. Also, just to add in as well, I put out a tweet there a couple of weeks ago as well about Benjamin Šeško and Samu Aguilar. Keep an eye on him as well. He might come into the mix. I don't know if this goes sideways, or potentially if the whole Wissa one doesn't get resurrected, and we're talking about Isak gone out the door, then something like that could happen. I don't know, but I just keep an eye. But yeah, I'm delighted that they've put a timestamp on it, 24 hours. So then it cuts out. There you go. We're not waiting around any longer. We can't. We have to move on. We want you. We've pushed the boat out for you as far as we can, and we're even trying to restructure the deal as well to suit to Leipzig. They also the bid has to be accepted by Leipzig before he has a decision to make as well, or a non-decision, because there's only one bid in for him, or potentially one accepted bid if it gets accepted. So we need to know pretty soon.
Chris, your thoughts on this situation with Benjamin Šeško? That seems to think that this deal gets done. Where do you see it all with this situation? Obviously, Manchester United still reported to be at the table for Benjamin Šeško. Do you think he chooses Newcastle United?
I hope he chooses Newcastle United because I think it'd be a really good signing for us. But again, I'm this close to getting to the Isak point where I'm just like, it feels like, I know it hasn't been going on for all that long, but again, this isn't down to the player, this is down to the media, because we get hourly updates and it's the same updates all the time. Everything feels like it's being played out in the public. So already I'm sick and tired of the Šeško situation. But I would love us to get Benjamin Šeško because I think he's a really talented player. He's someone we've been watching for a long time. But I hope that last article that you flashed up there, Pete, about the 24-hour thing, I hope Newcastle just go, listen, mate, you're going to have to make your mind up because time is of the essence. And, it's not like he's choosing whether he wants ravioli or spaghetti bolognese for his tea. It's a pretty big deal. He has to decide. I don't know where ravioli and spaghetti bolognese came from, by the way, but he has to decide, what he wants to do. Because at the moment, it looks to me like maybe he does want to see what offer Man United put on the table. And no wonder, because Man United will no doubt offer him huge wages. So maybe that's probably why he's hoping for a Man United bid. Whereas at the moment, I believe, I could be wrong, Pete, but I believe Man United are talking about including Rasmus Højlund in the deal. But Rasmus Højlund doesn't want to leave. So again, are they struggling to put the funds up? But there needs to come an end point where Newcastle go, right, decision time now. Are you coming or are you not coming? Because we'll move on. Because what I don't want is for this to drag on for another week. And the Alexander Isak, scenario drag on for another week. We need to, fast forward and really try and get things done because we've been talking and waiting and in discussions and waiting on a decision now for what feels like months. I know it probably hasn't been that long, but I'm sure there's been a lot of conversations that have taken place, particularly over the last 72, 96 hours. And it's almost like, a decision needs to be made, really. You either want to come or you don't want to come. If you want to wait for Man United, feel free. But we're going to move on. What we don't want to be doing is just being dragged along the path. And then all of a sudden, when it gets to the end point, oh, yeah, I want to join Man United. And then we've just wasted a week. We need to really start, being a bit more cutthroat. And, we want a decision by then. If you're not going to give us it, we're going to walk away, just so you know. And I hope in the next 24 hours we hear that. I really, really do. I got my hopes up the other night, when I heard that Šeško sounded like he'd agreed with Newcastle United or that he decided he wanted to join. And then I heard the news that the deal had been rejected. Then I heard it hadn't been rejected. It was just still that, we needed to keep negotiating. And you feel like ringing the club and just going, just fucking give them what they want and just get the striker. And make him make a choice. Just do what you need to do because at the moment, it's not the middle of July. It's the beginning of August, and like the season starts in 13 days. So we need to really get a move on. I think the time for negotiation is over. Don't get me wrong. If they're asking for like an extra 20 million quid, at that point you walk away. But if it's little details, just do it. Just do it. We're past that point now. Just do the deal. And that's where I stand on it. But what about you, Pete?
The deal is already a very expensive deal for me. It's already a very expensive deal, and Newcastle have committed so much to it. This is what I said earlier, that Newcastle United need to now go and pay the money to get the guy in the door. But this is not what we already knew. This it's already been said. Newcastle are willing to pay what's needed. Newcastle United are willing to pay the player what's needed. They're willing to pay the agent what's needed. This is not on Newcastle United right now. I actually genuinely believe that Newcastle United have played this situation, Benjamin Sesko, really well. Some people may not agree, but I actually think they have. They've gone in strong-willed and willing to pay the money. They haven't gone in with 50 million with a few bits of
this time.
They've gone straight in with the money to go, this is what you wanted, here's your money. This is what we're willing to pay, here's your money. We've actually gone in with a really strong hand. And fair play to Newcastle, because they hadn't done that earlier on in the summer and they lost players because of it. We've done it now. And I actually think we've done it really well, because Newcastle United know that Man U can't afford Benjamin Sesko. They can't afford it. This is why they're now trying to flog lots of different players. You're hearing Garnacho's being linked with Chelsea. You're hearing Sancho's being linked with Dortmund. They're trying to get these players out the door. We talked about it in a previous show last week. They want Rasmus Højlund as part of the deal. Rasmus Højlund has said 2 separate occasions now, I do not want to leave. He's actually verbally said it in an interview. I don't want to leave Manchester United. I want to stay. So even that angle is not going for them. Why do you think they've not bid? They know what it takes to get the deal done. They can't afford to put another big fee on there. They had to go above and beyond to get Brian Mbeumo in the club. They had to pay the best part of 70 plus million to do it. And that was beyond their means to be able to get that deal done. They can't afford Benjamin Sesko right now. I had a couple of chats with Man United fans yesterday. There's a lot of Man United fans that don't actually want him. They don't actually. They would rather Ollie Watkins. That's and the reason being is because they feel that he doesn't suit their setup. Whereas for me, I actually think Benjamin Sesko would be brilliant in our setup. He offers something different to Isak, but I actually think our forwards would absolutely lap up playing with a Benjamin Sesko. I actually think he's perfect for us. But the big thing here is the decision. It's the decision that needs to be made by Benjamin Sesko. Now, it's not an easy decision for Benjamin Sesko. I'm not going to sit here with a Newcastle hat on and saying it's an easy decision. It's not. This will be the biggest move of his career. And so he deserves that opportunity to think about it. But for me, he's had long enough. He's known Newcastle's at the table. He knew Man United were tentatively interested. For me, he should be looking at the fact that we are desperate for him, and we want you to come to us. We want you to play for Newcastle United. We want you to wear the number 9. He should look at the fact that Eddie Howe has presented his project, and it's been reported by multiple people that he's actually impressed with the project. He's not the only one that's been impressed with Newcastle United and Eddie Howe's project. So he's obviously interested in it. For me, I'd be looking at, where am I going to develop as a player at 22 years old? And for me, there's no question. Newcastle United are the better club for him to go to right now. And you know why? It's because we've got the better manager. Eddie Howe has got a track record in the last 4 or 5 years of making a player better than what they already are. You only have to look at our current striker who's on his way out in Alexander Isak and look where he started at 22 years old at Newcastle United. What did he come off the back of? Came off the back of a season scoring 6 or 7 goals for Real Sociedad, and look what we've made him into. We've made him into one of the best strikers in the world. The difference is, and this is what I don't get some of the hate around Benjamin Sesko. Benjamin Sesko is coming in potentially at the same age as Alexander Isak. Isak came off a 10-goal contribution season or just over that at Real Sociedad. Yeah. Benjamin Sesko is coming off a 27-goal contribution, including Champions League goals this season at RB Leipzig, in a season where their team underperformed. For me, it's a no-brainer. He comes to Newcastle United, he absolutely flies at Newcastle United, and we've got the ammo to provide him to ensure that he hits the ground running. It's a no-brainer for me, but he's got a 24-hour decision to make. Are Manchester United going to make that sort of money up in 24 hours to be able to put a bid in? I don't think they are. And so I think Newcastle stand a really good chance of getting him. But what? Go on, Daz.
But there's only 2 decisions on the table. There's not 3. The decisions are he goes to Newcastle or he stays at Leipzig. There's no decision to be made on Man United because Man United haven't bid, and it's a tentative link their interest in the player. We're interested in loads of players. Well, unless you make a bid, there's no decision to be made. And he's also telling his teammates, if we believe what we read, that he's said his goodbyes. So, unless Man United put a bid in, obviously, there's no other decision. It's stay or go to Newcastle.
But this was the point, though, and a couple of people have said it recently. And look, Fabrizio Romano had mentioned it, Ben Jacobs had mentioned it, but more recently, particularly yesterday, I think Craig Hope and Keith Downey had mentioned it. It's not about the bid now, because Newcastle have put a bid in. And Newcastle tried to force RB Leipzig's hand by allowing that situation to be moved on quickly. But it's not about the bid. It's about the player. I think what the situation is now is that Man United have said that they'll bid once they know where Šeško wants to go. Now, for me, that cancels out all of this nonsense about, he only wants Man United. We've got to remember, guys, as Newcastle United fans, the narrative has always been pushed towards Man United, even at the beginning. So the media are going to push it in that direction. They genuinely are, right? So that, for me, is besides the point. What we're also hearing is that he's interested and wants our project too. So he's keen on our project too. So for me, we're right in the mix for Benjamin Šeško. This is not a Man United priority, and let's see what happens. I genuinely think he's weighing up what his next step is. But for me, it's not about the bid, it's about his choice. He knows that if he decides Newcastle United and he makes the final choice on it, Newcastle United will bid what RB Leipzig want, and it gets accepted. The reason why Man United have not already bid for him is because they don't want to pay that type of money for him. They wanted to do what they tried to do with Brian Mbeumo, is corner the market, get him to say, I want Man United and nobody else. So everyone backs away and then try and negotiate a lower fee. Newcastle United, this is why I say Newcastle United have played it really well, because they've gone, nah, not having that. Bang. There's your bid, 75 million euros plus whatever it is. And now that's the benchmark. Man United have to pay minimum that, and Man United ain't got the money. So it could well be a masterstroke in getting Benjamin Šeško if it turns out that he turns around and joins us. And putting the 24-hour marker on him signing for Newcastle and accepting Newcastle United, even more of a great marker. If he turns around and says, no, I don't want to go, that's fine, we move on. But at least we've got time to do that. Yep. Newcastle United, I actually genuinely think if you break it all down, forget all the noise that you see on social media and the way that people are putting Man United above Newcastle, and they're only talking about Man United and they're very little about Newcastle, right? That's all media noise to try and drum up the fact that Man United are ahead in the race. That's all nonsense. When you look at it, I actually think Newcastle have played this really well. And hopefully it goes our way, but it's all
I agree with you. I think that Newcastle have played for this one transfer. They've played really well. So we're either doing a reaction to a sign-in show tomorrow, or we're moving on to another player, and then that next name will start to feed and come out. If they just stick to the 24-hour window, that's where we are. Again, a big day. Big few days.
I hope it gets concluded pretty soon. Like I say, I really love Benjamin Šeško. I think he'd be a cracking sign. I agree with you, Pete. I think he brings a different dimension. He's different to Alexander Isak, but I think he's a player who could really blossom, really do well. And we know that he's a player that the club have followed for a long time. So this isn't us taking a punt on a player that we don't know all that much about. This is somebody who we've tracked for a long time. And he's been linked with a lot of top clubs as well. So for us to get him, I think it would be a really big coup. But whether or not we can get it over the line, I don't know. But fingers crossed. And the fact that, as you boys have been saying, if we're trying to push it and we're trying to force it, a decision within the next 24 hours, it puts the pressure on Man United then. And then it is literally a 50-50 choice, isn't it? You either stay at Leipzig or you come to Newcastle United. And hopefully he decides to come to Newcastle United and we can get that big signing in the striker position.
This is what we're in now. People need to realise this. This is the first, but it's not going to be the last. Newcastle United are going to be in these type of deals. where it could be on a knife edge. When you're fighting for the best players and the top young strikers in Europe, this is what happens. It is on a knife edge. It could go either way. Sometimes it's not just about what money's available. Sometimes it's about the project. Sometimes it's about what manager's there, what players there, what you can offer, whether it's Champions League football or not. Right? We're going up against a heritage club. Regardless of what you think of Man United, they are a heritage club. There are players that will want to play for a club because of their stature, not necessarily what they're offering in terms of European competition, right? They might be Man United might be painting the picture that they're going to be back in the Champions League next season. I don't believe that, but that's what might they be painting. So we have to remember that. And we have to be honest with the situation. For as good as we are and where we're going, they are still considered a heritage club. So it is a battle and it is on a knife edge. But this is the type of battle that if Newcastle win it, and we get a player of that stature, and we bring Benjamin Šeško in, not only are we bringing a quality player in that's going to improve the team and really be able to take us on to the next level, on top of that, it gets other players talking to go, Newcastle just signed Šeško for so with a much million. Remember, we've still got positions to find. Still got centre-back, still got centre midfielder. You know, we've still got players to bring in the door. At that point, it's going to make people sit up and take notice of us. So Newcastle United are absolutely right to be fighting like hammer and tong to try and win this race. And that's why I think Newcastle played it well. They put a time limit on it. We want you. We're going to pay you what you want. Sign for us or we move on. Simple as that. We don't mess around. It was showing an element in this deal. We're showing what we should have shown for João Pedro. We're showing what we should have shown for Hugo Ekitike. We're showing now what we should have shown 4 weeks ago. But I'm just glad that I'm seeing that from Newcastle now.
It's probably linked to Yasser coming in and plotting a few angles over the last few days when he was back in. But let's see.
Possible. Oh, God, we need somebody. Jesus.
We do. Oh, geez, we've got loads of super chats. We'll have to go to these boys. We have so many.
Go for it.
Jump to them.
Yeah, let's fly through. Well, first of all, Antunami, who's been a member for 30 months. Thank you very much, Sam. Really appreciate it. We go to get 2 strikers and then keep Isak till the winter. That's something we haven't considered. So maybe Isak leaving in January, but we have our 2 strikers through the door. I mean, do you know what, Anne? It's not the most outrageous statement, is it? Because whichever 2 strikers that we sign, let's be honest, they're probably not going to be Eddie Howe ready, are they? Because they're only going to be playing for 13 days before the season starts. They might get a couple of friendlies in for the Salah Cup, but other than that, so it's not beyond the realms. No, it's not a bad shout. And boys, last time we were talking about Isak a while ago, we were saying, weren't we, that was it true that you can register a player for 2 different clubs during a Champions League campaign? Does it end after the qualification period and then they can be registered for another club following qualification? I seem to remember us talking about that.
I think we talked about that off air.
Oh, did we? We got off air.
Yeah, but yeah, I think what I said is that I think that is the case. I'm sure there was wasn't it Kvaratskhelia for PSG? I think we talked about.
So he was at Napoli and then
played for PSG in the last stage. I think because he might have, I could be wrong with that, but I think that's right. I think he played in the group stages, and then I think he'd signed whilst the group stages were still playing, so he couldn't play in those in that end section of the group stages, and then went into the knockout stages and played for PSG. So I think it can happen. I think Dunne was put in there. KK would have been registered for Napoli and PSG. That was the example that I used. So I think it can happen. So he could potentially play for Newcastle in the groups and then knockout stages for whoever he signs for.
It's not a bad suggestion from Antunami. I'm really glad that this has come. Oh, sorry, go on, Baz.
Can I stop you 1 sec, Chris, because I'll forget it otherwise. Because it's linked to the section. Because I want to give a shout out to Caroline M, who has bought us a beer. She's used the little graphic there to go buy some beer, and she bought one for us last week as well, lads. So cheers, thanks you very much, Carolina M. We do notice this as well. It doesn't always come through straight away, so thanks for supporting the channel. And also, when Pete and myself were shutting down the show the last day, it was after the show, I think on the credits, we spotted there was another super chat that came in. So shout out to the person who dropped that super chat. We didn't see it till the show was actually over, but just want to acknowledge that as well. Sorry, Chris.
No, I'm glad you remembered that. I think they must have been watching the show back at the time and then put the super chat in whilst they're watching the show, but we'd already finished by then. So yeah, I'm glad you remembered that.
Yeah. No, thank you, Daz. Thank you for jumping in with those, mate. I'm glad Ado Pool. I'm glad Ado Pool has asked this question, because quite a few people have been asking this question. And thank you very much for the super chat, Ado Pool. But Ado Pool says, why is Wissa different? Why is Wissa situation different, same but less money? So there's a couple of reasons why it's different, Ado Pool. The first reason being, and boys, jump in if I'm incorrect here or there's something else to say. The first reason that it's different is the fact that Johan Wissa was promised by Brentford last season that he could leave for 26 million this coming season. That was a gentleman's agreement, a verbal agreement, whatever you want to call it. And then the club went back on that. So straight away, that is different, obviously, to the Alexander Isak situation. And the second reason is the fact that Johan Wissa has got 1 year left on his contract. Alexander Isak has got 3 years left on his contract. So Newcastle going in with an offer, we're led to believe, obviously we went in with 25 and then it rose, and then we've gone in allegedly with a final offer of 30 million with 5 million add-ons, 35 million for the player who's 29 in September. Alexander Isak's 25, and he's only got 1 year left on his deal. And Brentford apparently want £50 million for the player who's going to be 29 in September and has only got 1 year left on his deal. That is why it's different. Boys, have I missed anything?
Go on, Nash. Go
on. The only thing you might have missed, but I think Ado Pool is my mate Smithy, who's a big Liverpool fan, and we have constant banter back and over on this situation. But he's also become a massive fan of Loaded, and he knows nearly as much about Newcastle as me now from watching these shows. So I think it could be the one and only Smithy, but I could be wrong.
We'll have to wait.
Anything you want to add on to that, Pete?
Yeah. Look, I think the reasons that you mentioned are some of the differences in that. I don't agree with his behaviour, though.
No,
and this is the thing. No. Like, I don't agree with how he's going about it. We will ultimately benefit from it, because I do think we end up signing it. Being honest. We will benefit from it, but it doesn't make it okay that he's having to go around that. But you're right in terms of the club did promise him he could leave. And the thing about it is the club promised he could leave for 26 million. I think when he put that out there, he was very specific on the price point. 26 million was the agreed fee that apparently he could leave for. Now, from reports, we put our second bid in 30 plus 5, so 35 million pound bid. So we're already bid nearly 10 million over the fee that was agreed with Wissa last summer. So, we've done more than our part. And to be fair, it's well over the value that they set on him last summer. So, you could argue that they should have stuck to that. We didn't put an agreement that Alexander Isak could leave. We've stuck to our value of 150 million. That needs to be matched. We put over our value of Johan Wissa of over 26 million. It hasn't been matched. So there's an argument there on either side of the coin. There are differences there. But yeah, look, don't agree with his behaviour, but I do think the deal will eventually happen. And actually, we might as well just kind of briefly touch on that, because there was only a little bit of a brief update, lads, with regards to Wissa, but there is one. And Ben Jacobs has said today that Brentford are now prepared to let Johan Wissa leave, providing a striker is found. And they have been linked to a number of strikers, one of which is Callum Owendo, quite recently, as a couple of days ago. So they've softened or starting to soften their position with Johan Wissa, as they mentioned before. And also Craig Hope has reported it as well, that there is confidence that Wissa move happens when they find their own replacement. Now, Wissa wasn't on the bus to play the preseason friendly this weekend. So again, he's still not involved with anything Brentford. And I have to be honest, I don't know about you boys, but Brentford looked like one of those teams that looked like they could really struggle this season. So
yeah,
I think it's within their best interest that they go and get a replacement and sort that situation out very, very quickly. Similar to what we're trying to do with Šeško and Alexander Isak. I think, we're trying to get our situation done quickly. I think Brentford now realise that they need to get their situation quickly, which is why I think Wissa will sign for Newcastle United. But do you agree, disagree? What are your thoughts, boys?
Yeah, I agree.
Craig Hope is on the Wissa train. I think you guys know my thoughts on the whole Wissa situation. I won't go into it again. But yeah, I do agree with you, Pete. I think Brentford are going to fall apart this season. Keith Andrews, a naive, inexperienced manager, I should say, not naive, inexperienced manager. Nathan Collins might be one for picking up next season. Never know. How it plays out.
You know what? For me, I'm looking at Damsgaard. Good player, really, really good player. He'd be one that I'd be looking at. But yeah, Nathan Collins as well. There's a couple there, but any other comments? Or before we move on,
a couple more, mate. Jexal1. Thank you very much for the super chat, Jexal1. Jexal1 says, Leipzig are known to be difficult chaps. Yeah, totally right. Do you not think it's the club telling him to do that for other reasons, i.e. for them to make more money?
It'd be a smart move if they did.
It would.
They are difficult sellers. That's been proven before.
Benjamin Sesko has been floated around Europe now for, this is what, the second or third season that his name's being floated around, and you're hearing Arsenal, you're hearing Chelsea, you're hearing Newcastle, you're hearing Man United, and it's still not happened.
Since Strasbourg before that, and then he decided to stay another year in Leipzig, and that it wasn't as well saying the Germans were saying that the German media were saying there's potential that he could consider staying another season there, but it seems like he wants a move now, because he's saying, again, if you're to read believe what you read, he's saying goodbye to teammates and stuff, and not in the squad, and so it looked like he's on his bike.
It's a weird one because you're getting two different perspectives here. They're just on things that I've seen, heard, and read. I was going to say what Claire G had mentioned, that Arsenal walked away, and I was speaking to Potts and Sam, 12 Man lads, about it, because they obviously walked away from Šeško earlier on in the summer because of the amount of money that RB Leipzig were asking for. I think they're asking for less now than they did originally for Šeško at the beginning of the summer. So there's that element that RB are being difficult, but you're also hearing noises that his agent is really difficult too. And you can kind of believe that because his agent was on Tyneside three years ago, wasn't it? Just before we signed Isak and all the rest of it, we wanted to sign him. So it could well be a bit of both, which is why this deal is being really difficult to go through. Is the agent trying to get more money out of it? Is the club trying to get more money out of it? To be fair, he's going to be probably the most high-profile player alongside Xabi Simons to leave this summer. Maybe they're trying to just maximize it. I don't know. It's an interesting one. I think we'll only know when it comes out in the wash, lads, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah.
I think that once the deals are done or not done in either way, I think that's the only way we're ever going to find out what the actual real situation is. It's a weird one.
And the other, thank you very much, Jexel. That was a really, really good question. The other question we had was from Andy H. And funnily enough, Andy, we discussed this. Oh, we've got another one. I'm going to pop this on as well. But Andy H says, wouldn't you rather have Goncalo Ramos linked today And we have discussed Goncalo Ramos in great detail as well, boys. And you'll probably remember me when I was at my rantiest, shall we say. And I was saying, get on the phone to PSG. Let's have Goncalo Ramos and let's give them Alexander Isak. That's what I was hoping for. Whether that's still in the pipeline, who knows? But yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to Goncalo Ramos myself. I think he's a different type of player to Šeško, a different type of player to Isak. But I think he's a really good player, and I think he's shown himself on the major stage that he can do it. We always remember that hat-trick he scored for Portugal in Cristiano Ronaldo's absence. But boys, would you be upset? Oh, it might have been 4 goals. It 4. Yeah. But yeah, what are your boys' thoughts on Goncalo Ramos? Would he be the next one in line if we can't get Šeško?
I'd say Pete has a lot to say on Ramos. I love Ramos as well. I think he's could take time to get up to speed because he has to be rusty now at this stage, and not getting so much game time. PSG. What was I going to say as well? I wouldn't have him as the Isak replacement. No. I'd want him if we were to sell Isak. I'd take Ramos and someone else. I'd like Ramos and Šeško. I wouldn't be going down. I wouldn't, and I know that's big money. But if we're getting a big fee for Isak, we can afford to do that. That's why I want 2 big players. That's again why I'm not jumping all around the place for Wissa. I want like a Šeško and Aguilar. That kind of, and I know it's asking for an awful lot, but if we're selling Isak, we can afford that.
Yeah.
And we secure ourselves going forward. Sorry, go on.
No. Sorry, lads. Goncalo Ramos is very much, for me, a better version of a Callum Wilson. He's a proper box striker. So anything in the box, and sometimes we lack in the box. We lacked in the box today, to be fair, where we had good deliveries at times, but just no one really in there, or not really someone that could finish and put the chances away. That's where he thrives. Anywhere in that 18-yard box is where he'll punish teams. But what you will find, being honest, a lot of the build-up stuff and a lot of the running and the positioning that maybe an Isak or someone of that type of player picks up, he's not really that type of guy. I really like him as a striker. Like, for me, playing as a striker myself, it's about scoring goals. And if you want a player that can score goals, Goncalo Ramos is that guy. He's deceptively good in the air. He's really good with both feet. Really good finisher. I think he'd be a big asset. I wouldn't be paying a fee for him though. For me, I'd be getting him on a loan with an obligation. That's what I'd be doing to PSG. I'd be saying loan, obligation to sign in the summer, and doing what Das just said. I'd be prioritizing everything in a Šeško or a mainline striker and having him dovetail with Goncalo Ramos. That's what I would do if I was Newcastle United. And that would be a big statement if you could get those deals done. I mentioned to you privately, I spoke to Lee, and Lee does believe that he'll leave this summer. Like, he thinks that PSG want to move him on, which it seems like that's the case now. But with Goncalo Ramos, absolutely, I would be having him in there with a loan, with an obligation to try and get that deal done. Even if it's a heavier loan fee, and a heavy loan fee would probably be like 10 million. I'd pay the 10 million to have him for a season at Newcastle United on loan. Champions League experience, to score goals in the Champions League, score goals at a high level. He's someone to come in and be an addition to somebody else. That's where I would be. But I just wanted to put up here, Craig Hope did report that tonight, so thank you, people who put it in the chat as well, that it is a name that Newcastle United mentioned, and we've all mentioned him recently over the recent months as a player that we should be absolutely looking at. So I'm pleased to see his name on that list, because that's the type of high-profile player that we do need to be trying to bring to Newcastle United. But that's kind of where I'm at with that. So for me, another man is your main man. Goncalo Ramos is your alternative. Loan with an obligation, no straight fee.
That's fair enough. And then last super chat from Tevin Sankers. Thank you very much, Tevin. Lovely message from Tevin. Tevin says, "Hello guys, great content. Keep up the good work." Thank you very much, Tevin.
Thanks, Terence.
Good stuff. Boys, we are coming towards the end. There was a one that a few people have mentioned, a report coming out from Eduardo Burgos, who I've translated it. It said Newcastle United are interested in the situation with Sam Agahawa. They've been monitoring his progress since the beginning of the year. He's one of the options being considered for the forward position, although they have not made an offer. Porto want to keep him for another year. Their asking price is 80 million euros. Big money, but, you know, we've talked about him before as a potential option if a Šeško doesn't go through. You know, you've got Samu there, you've got Goncalo Ramos, you've got another player that we've talked about previously that seems to be on ours and Man United's list is Ollie Watkins. Just to add in there that Ollie Watkins' price is also been mentioned at 60 million that Villa want for him. Samu, your guy, Daz? I imagine he is.
Yes, he is my guy. Yeah, but I want, as I said, that's Alan. That's for you. Who's tweeted me about that article? Yeah, I want Samu Aguilar and Šeško up front if we're selling Alexander Isak, and we get the money that we want for Alexander Isak. I just think we have the money then to go get a young, hungry striking partnership that can share the load, that we can battle it out to be whatever number is on the back of the jersey, but to be our number 9, our number 1. And if they can swap that about. So I would love for us to go for him. But let's see. When I talked about him before, he did strike me like a perfect Callum Wilson kind of replacement. At that time, I was pairing him with Alexander Isak, and then totally different to Alexander Isak. So yeah, it's moved on a bit since, but let's see what happens.
What are your thoughts, lads? I mean, Chris, look, give us your thoughts on Samuel Agahawa. But like, just as an addition to that for both of you, what are your thoughts on the chances of Newcastle getting 2 high-profile players like that?
Do you know what? I think it depends. It depends on when that first, and it goes back to what I said at the start of the show. It depends on what happens when that first big name comes through the door. So let's say hopefully in the next 24, 48 hours, we sign Benjamin Šeško. I think then it's about Newcastle wanting to know what Liverpool are going to do. How serious are Liverpool in their pursuit of Alexander Isak? Because if we go and sign Benjamin Šeško and then we go to Liverpool, right, let's go. Let's see the colour of your money. Because if Liverpool are willing to put in the next bid, which you would hope is going to be at least 130, 135, 140, something around there, Newcastle then have a decision to make. Newcastle then look at it and go, right, do we want to go for a Goncalo Ramos? Do we want to go for a Samu Agahawa? Or do we want to go for a Johan Wissa and push it further down the line? I've said to you boys before, I genuinely see Johan Wissa as a good stopgap. I think he'd be a really, really good player. The thing that worries me about him, obviously, is the age. And I do wonder whether you get him for a couple of years, 18 months even, a bit like a Chris Wood, and then all of a sudden you recoup your money. You know, somebody comes in, you know, when he's 30, for example, and comes in with like a 25, 30 million offer, and we go, you know what, we'll have that, and we'll move him on. We'll turn him over, and we'll move him on. Going for someone like Agahawa or Goncalo Ramos, who's, you know, like a younger profile, if you like, that's a signing for the future. That's a signing that you want to, like, you know, develop, progress. You're looking to build. Yeah. So I think once the first striker comes through the door, and when I say striker, I mean Alexander Isak replacement. I think then it's about seeing what Liverpool's intentions are. If Liverpool are coming back going, oh, okay, here's 115 million, might be like, right, pardon my language, you can get to fuck. let's carry on and do what we were planning, and let's just plan for this window. Let's just plan for what we're doing for this window. We can worry about your Agahoas, your Goncalo Ramoses, your other development strikers further down the line. Right now, we need to bring in the strikers for the here and now. The season starts tomorrow. It'll be 12 days. Let's just bring in what we need right now, and we'll worry about this in January, or we'll worry about it next summer. That's how I see it. I think, we've said this loads, haven't we, boys? But I think this week's going to be a big one. It will depend on Benjamin Sesko. It will depend on Alexander Isak, and then I think we see what we do. That's how I see it.
I was laughing because Daz put the beep on about a minute after you know.
I didn't even hear it.
He was like way late.
And I'm laughing because I'm laughing because for the last 6 weeks we've been saying this week is the big one.
I know.
It has to be the big one.
I know, mate. It's got to be. Something's got to happen this week because. I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for it now. Tuesday morning, about 10 o'clock. I just predict that X is just going to go bananas because they're just going to go. Alexander Isak hasn't turned up for training, and it'll just be like, oh my god, here we go. Or it'll be Alexander Isak's turned up for training, and everyone will be like, oh, okay.
Going in for chocolates.
Yeah. A big hug.
I've got a feeling it's going to be Tuesday because they only played today. They're going to be flying back.
Yeah.
I imagine they're going to maybe give them a day before they come back in because of the time difference and jet lag and all that business. So I do think it may be a case that Tuesday we may get some noise whether he's in or not. Not unless Eddie Howe comes back in Monday and has a meeting with him. So he does go into training, but it's purely for a meeting discussion without the players there, whatever. I'm not quite sure. The one thing I'll say about the two main strikers, I do think if we do go for two bigger name strikers, that one has to be an experienced one. I think that's been the narrative that's gone around this summer, that we do need two strikers into this season, but one has to be more experienced. So it could well be, just as an example, a Benjamin Sesko and a Johan Wissa. The second striker is the alternative, is the one with the experience, or it could go the other way. It could be like maybe an Ollie Watkins and a younger striker, and I'd maybe take an Ollie Watkins or an Osamu Agahowa. So you've got your experienced guy, but you've also got your young guy, but they're
Premier League experience as well,
and Premier League experience, but levels wise, they're probably not too far away. So you've actually got quite a nice balance there. If you had a Watkins and a Osamu Agahowa, or you got a Šeško and a Wissa, or however it's mixed and matched, whichever player, but you've got a little bit of both, because I do think we need to add a little bit of experience and know-how in there, just to add into that level of quality that we have. So I think there's a mix there. I think we're less than 10 away from 400 likes, people. Wow. So if we haven't already, or 5 more, so if you just put it in the chat. So we're 5 likes away from 400 people. In fact, I've just looked at the screen, we're 3 away from 400 people, 400 likes, people. So let's get us there. Thank you for tuning in. The questions, the super chats, people, have been absolutely superb. Great points, great questions in those super chats. We're only going to do another maybe a few more minutes before we wrap up for tonight. So if you've got a super chat to put that in before the show ends, and we'll bring that up very, very quickly. But thank you for tuning in, people.
On the subject of super chats, we've just had another super chat. So I'm gonna flash that up now. Big thank you to Kevin. Thank you very much for the super chat, Kevin. And Kevin says we should let Kevin, I love this, mate. We should let Isak go when Liverpool or anyone else meets our valuation. Amen. Amen, Kevin. PIF need to have the balls to get deals done on our terms.
That's what I'm saying. We need to grab this. This is what we've all said this during this show tonight. So thank you, Kevin. So I think you kind of epitomized all of our thoughts in that one super chat there. We need to grab this situation as a club by the scruff of the neck and bring the narrative back to us. We need to do that. And we can use the Isak situation and the Sesko situation to recover recover our image this summer. Because the club's image is important. It really, really is. There's other elements that I think are really important that the club need to be doing better moving forward, but that's probably for another show or maybe at the end of this window. That I'll just just some thoughts on what we should be doing better. But yes,
we were calling for Piff to come out strong on our show on Friday, Pete, to the bid, and we got it. We got that when they knocked it back straight away. We got it, and then Liverpool backing off. So the strong response to that was mentioned in that tweet from Ben Jacobs. It showed that they do have the ball, so they need to continue, as Kevin has said there in his super chat.
Absolutely. And just that there, were you going to say that, Chris? Sorry.
Oh, no, it wasn't me. Go on.
No, just exactly what was there on the screen. For those that are new to the channel, just subscribe. We have had 500 new subscribers in the last 4.5 days, which is superb. Yeah. So thank you to all you new subscribers. If you haven't seen it, please consider nominating us for Football Content Awards 2025. To subscribe, to enable the chat, and it says super chats are open, of course, all those good things. I think it might be in the description. Is that right?
It's in the description. Yeah, the link is in the description as well, Pete. I should also have the link here somewhere, but I can't find it anymore. Maybe it's in there. Maybe give us a second. Boom, I'll find it somewhere. Here it is. Here's nominations are open for the Football Content Awards. So, as Pete said, the link is in the chat, along with all our other links as well. So go check that out. I think the close is around the middle of August. So there's still plenty of time to get it in, but get it in quick, and you never know.
Absolutely.
What it might mean for us.
Boys, there is some discussion around centre backs, but we're going to leave that for another show. We will call it a night on that because we've done an hour and 45, 46, 47 just hit now. And it's been a great chat. All the big news that's been going on this weekend we have covered. I've got a feeling, lads, we could well be back tomorrow. So you people in the chat, make sure you click your notification bell, because if you've not seen us in the last 2 weeks, we are popping up with shows just like that. And they're on the whim, and they're based on the news that's happening at this moment in time. So click that notification bell and you will get notified of any show that we put together. And we may well be doing one tomorrow. But brilliant stuff in the chat. We're already nearly at 450 likes already. We're halfway to 450. 425, I think we're currently on. So get those likes up for anyone that hasn't done already. And boys, a pleasure as always to be back chatting Newcastle United. Let's hope. We've said it every week's a big week, but the one week that hasn't been a big, the reason why there haven't been a big week is because they've not gone our way. Let's make sure this week it goes Newcastle United's way. So let's hope, pray, fingers crossed that this is a big week for all the right reasons, and we'll be covering it on this channel.
I know it's a big week for one man when he gets back tomorrow. Good night, everyone. Drink it, like me, then tell me you like that.